A day after learning Iran's supreme leader is dead after well-coordinated attacks from the U.S. and Israel, we now know U.S. service members are also among the casualties. U.S. Central Command reports 3 military personnel based in Kuwait are dead and at least 5 others injured during the operation known as Epic Fury. President Donald Trump told another news outlet casualties are expected with this type of military action. Mr. Trump also says 9 Iranian naval ships have been destroyed. As expected, Iran is responding. The remaining members of the Islamic Republic regime are firing back with strikes, targeting Israel and several countries in the Gulf region hosting American military bases. Eric Loeb joins me now. He's an associate professor of politics and international relations at Florida International University. Thanks for being with us. Let's get to the latest information. The president tells The Atlantic he's willing to talk with Iran to find a resolution now. And in reality, all military action has, in essence, a political end goal. But is that more or less likely today now that missiles have been going back and forth?
Well, thank you for having me. And this has really been an open question since the start of this operation in terms of what is the political objective or end game of the operation. And if we listen to the president's statements along with Prime Minister Netanyahu, it seems that the goal is regime change, but there's a lot of questions surrounding whether that's even realistic. So now the president is again saying that he will talk to the Iranians. The problem is that since he's become president in 2025, there's been 2 rounds of nuclear negotiations between Iran and the United States, and both times they were abruptly interrupted with warfare. So it's difficult to know if the Iranians could take that statement seriously at this point in time.
And as Iran figures out its leadership and secession from the Ayatollah, what about the region? And I'm curious what you make of how Saudi Arabia is positioned in all of this. Of course, it's a key U.S. ally, a competitor to Iran in many ways in the region. How key will it be in what comes next?
Well, we're watching the Saudi Arabia and the other Gulf countries very closely. Since this operation started yesterday, they've been on the front lines, essentially, receiving Iranian missiles, not just at U.S. military bases that they've hosted there, but also civilian targets as well within their states. And while they were initially communicating to Iran that they wanted to stay out of this conflict, remain on the sidelines, and not allow the United States or Israel to use their airspace, you're now hearing strong statements by the Saudis and other Gulf states that they may have no choice but to intervene, and they're strongly condemning these Iranian attacks as acts of cowardliness.
And now that such a significant death has occurred in Iran with its Ayatollah, what are you most worried about next? Iran, of course, carries capabilities of not just physical military retaliation, but cyber operations too. Where should the U.S. be focusing to keep an eye out for the dangers that now exist?
Well, of course, Iran has extensive cyber capabilities, and it has a global reach in that respect. But the immediate threat right now is to U.S. assets in the region. And the Iranians were very clear that if the United States and by extension Israel did strike, that all options would be on the table, including U.S. military assets. And the CENTCOM has already acknowledged that there's been a loss of life of U.S. troops, U.S. service members, along with other injuries. President Trump himself, when he opened this conflict with his statement, said that the United States could prepare for casualties. And so the question is to what extent or how long will these potential casualties and collateral damage be acceptable to the United States as this conflict continues on?
Yeah, so many questions at this early stage. Eric Loeb, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.